You worry about the safety of the nation a little bit.
Well, but if the nation, and you know what, John, there should be someone like you raising the appropriate and legitimate devil's advocate questions, standing right behind the conservatives that say, you know what, American people, if you were worried about the safety of this country, you should have thought twice before you voted for a progressive, lily-livered Democrat who says, well, a little minor invasion over in Ukraine, wink, wink, not a problem. You know, American people, you get what you vote for. You vote for Republicans, we're going to give your money back to you so you can do with it what you want. Let your state houses determine what to do with your money, and we are going to do what the 18 enumerated powers are. And by the way, why don't we read those 18 enumerated powers? You know, we've got to get back to some sanity.
But remember, I mean, we had it was like a 6-day shutdown not too long ago, and then they said, it was a minor shutdown, and then that was what the IRS used to say when they got 6 months behind on giving people their money back, right? Do you remember that?
Yes,
and they're
remember.
like, we had a shutdown. We're 6 months behind. And we were like, wait a minute. It was 4 days. How'd you get 6 months behind in 4 days?
And you know what? You got Ramaswamy, you got Musk. And I'm telling you, Ramaswamy and Musk, if you're listening, and if you're going to shut the government down, right now, today, say, Americans, they're going to play the IRS nonsense on you, and they're going to tell you that because we shut the government down, you don't get your refunds until August or September. You know what? That's an argument to start talking about fair tax. Eliminate the income tax. Do a fair tax on all new goods. Here's how it works. And, we're going to have a primetime expose on this, and Elon Musk and Ramaswamy are going to lead it. I'm telling you, this is the time to take the bull by the horns. This is the time for an American revolution, 1776 style, without the guns, with all of the proper messaging. It's time to take our country back.
Well, and there's two other perspectives on the government shutdown. One, I happened to be in D.C. for one of the longer shutdowns, and we had a conference planned, and there was, I think it was an FEC commissioner, but there was like a whole slate of people in D.C. that were supposed to talk the next day, and they were all deemed non-essential, so they couldn't show up to the conference and speak. So there will be events and things that those people are not allowed to participate in, which really sucks if they actually do get back pay, because they shouldn't, because they're not performing their duties. The other thing, though, is here in mid-Missouri, we do have a lot of federal contractors, and I've heard before when we get close to that government shutdown, we've got friends who start getting nervous about, the government's ability to pay. And sometimes for a lot of businesses, those federal contracts are a big part of their business.
What I'm going to say to all of you, my beloved listeners and federal contractors and my physicians and my Brady DuBois, my good friend at Boone, and Moon Choi and the president of MU Healthcare, all of you wonderful people, when you get in bed with the devil named CMS, sometimes it doesn't work out real well for you. I'm sorry. When you get in bed with the devil, when the government says they're here to help you, they can help you as long as they want to, but now you are under their control. You are under their spell. I'm sorry. Actions have consequences.
My businesses do business with the government, not necessarily the federal government, but I think as a small business owner, I'm kind of like with Hannah and the student loans. If the government's going to throw money around and contract with somebody, I'll take some of it. I mean,
you'd be stupid not to.
It's going to go to somebody, right?
I don't blame you, but be honest. Be intellectually honest. When you get in bed with the government can shut you down in a heartbeat. And you know what? I'm sorry. We've become too dependent on the government for our everyday lives and our everyday incomes. I agree
with you on that.
I want to be dependent on Stephanie and on John and on whoever I'm going to hire you as my lawyer. You hire me as your doctor. We'll do some bartering. Let's work it out. We don't need third-party payers. We don't need all that. Let's do direct relationships.
And
we don't need that.
And just like here in yesterday, right? I want to rely on my own community for people in need.
Yes.
And people stepped up in a big way yesterday
they did.
At the One for One food drive.
Big time.
Big money. It was they outstripped, I think, Ms. Lopez
past couple
told me,
of years.
She said by in the afternoon sometime they'd already surpassed that. So that is a perfect example. I'm glad you brought that up. I would much rather have my taxes go to Jefferson City, where Mike Kehoe, Cindy O'Loughlin, the new Speaker of the House. I want to be able to go to those people, knock on their door, say, you know what, we're having a period of hardship because of a drought in agricultural in Missouri. So it's time to take up a special tax for a year or two to help the farmers get back on their feet. And then that tax sunsets.
And you think those crazy people in Jefferson City would vote for the T word?
I think if Missourians' money stayed in Missouri,
and there would be alleged crazy people.
I don't know. I'm telling you, we need to reimagine what our relationship with our government.
Beloved and alleged crazy people. But no, I mean, that's a tough sell. I mean, our legislature's not voting for any tax special or not. But I agree. I mean, I think there are ways, Randy. I think what you're trying, and you've brought up before.
I don't say it very well, but everyone knows what I'm saying.
No, but I think like if there was a way to get the federal government out of it and then, transfer some of those responsibilities to the state such that people weren't burdened doubly, I think is a way that, I think would be interesting. That transition process, though, I'm not sure how that happens.
John.
Well, Steph, you mentioned being in D.C. at the time of the shutdown and all. And I think for a lot of people out there, they cycle back to that and go, how many times are they going to threaten to shut down the government? I mean, it's the second time this year that they've tried this.
Well, and again, like even with the CR, if they passed it as is, it only kicks the can to March. So we're going to be having this conversation again here rather quickly. My favorite was that none of the federal government workers could go back to work. So all of the bars had specials and they got progressively better night by night because none of them went to work. So they were just out at the restaurants and bars all night. So they were having a blast.
And if you ask yourself, has anyone out there, or do you know anyone out there that despite all of the threatened carnage on your life and all of the disaster if the government, quote, shuts down, has anyone ever had long-term damage because of any one of these shutdowns? The answer is no.
Talk to some of those people who waited really long for their refund check, Randy. I'm sure they felt damaged.
Well, that's what families, communities, benevolent people providing services are for. We take care of one another much better than the government takes care of us.
Not everybody has access to good people around them, though.
Yes, they do. If they choose not to have a network of friends and be in a community that is caring, okay.
Well, a community that's caring but also is able to help out like that?
The reason they're not able to help out is because all of their money and all of their allegiance goes to the imperial federal government. You got to look at root causes. When you have a weed in your garden and you just pull off what's above the ground, that weed's going to grow back. The weed is the roots called Washington, D.C. is too big for our britches.
Yes.
Now we're going to go to the Daily D.C. Rundown. We'll be back in a moment.
Get that out of
By
your
the
system?
way, later on, we talked to John Hancock about the inauguration.
doing well. Of course, it's only been 24 hours, and we heard comments from Elon, from Trump, from J.D. Vance, and it is they're going back to the drawing board. Of course, the government shutdown is scheduled for Friday. They were hopeful that they could vote Thursday. That would have allowed them to comply with the 72-hour rule, because apparently everyone was going to read the full 1,500 pages in 72 hours. But I think the more people dig in, the more people are like, this is not what we thought we were going to get and not what we want. So I honestly sitting here today, Randy, have no idea what's going to happen in the next 48 hours. But I don't think it's going to be that 1,500-page bill.
Is there somewhere in the Constitution that says that the members of Congress are entitled to a Christmas not working?
No, there's not.
First responders work.
They're not going to work on Christmas. I do know that.
Why not?
Well, it's a federal holiday, right?
Well, but they're supposed to be working for us. And if they can't get their job done, maybe they need to be home for Christmas.
Don't hold your breath. All right.
DC for Christmas. What else?
One reason why I hope they wrap this up quickly and get it done is we heard yesterday that the House Ethics Committee is going to release the Matt Gaetz report when they are done with their work before the holidays. So as soon as that is wrapped up, we are expecting that. Now, apparently he's trying to get out in front of it and say, like, oh, it was an embarrassing time, but not criminal. I really want to read the report. I want to know what's in there. So I'm looking forward to that.
Do you think what's happening to, they're wanting to look into Liz Cheney's activities on that J6 committee. Is she at some peril, maybe?
I don't think so.
That's okay.
We also heard yesterday, now we talked to our friend Zach Smith at Heritage about TikTok making a request at the Supreme Court. And yesterday morning, the Supreme Court decided they are going to weigh in the TikTok matter. It is, those people are going to have a busy Christmas too, because I think the first briefs are due December 27th, but they have put it on an expedited schedule. And I believe the arguments are going to happen as quickly as January 10th.
Yeah. Wow.
So, the law will remain in place while they consider the merits.
Wow. Okay. So that'll be a big deal, right?
It's a huge deal.
So so it's on hold until they consider the merits.
No, the law is in place.
In place.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow. So the Supreme Court's taken up some pretty weighty issues, yeah?
Yes.
The transgender thing, they argued that. They've got this case.
They've got the religious tax exemption case.
Pretty cool. I'm glad you are on top 6. And in just a short couple of weeks, we will have a new governor in Missouri. And, of course, in order to have a new governor, he needs to be inaugurated.
You fellas got your tuxedos rented yet for the ball?
I'm a long tie guy. So I can't come to the ball because I don't do that. I'm a long tie guy.
Oh, well, Stephanie and I will be there. It's okay.
I have my dress. I know
I do
you're not
too.
surprised.
Yeah, it's
Stephanie and I were sending screenshots of dresses back and forth.
The older I get, the more nonconformist I get. But I guess if I was going to the fancy, you have to have a black tie to go. You have to have a tux and tie to go to the ball.
No.
Well, no, but it is
You will
called
see
a
a
ball.
lot of them.
Yeah.
But we'll ask John Hancock, who's with Securing Missouri's Future at securingmissourisfuture.org, the proper esprit de corps and attire for that day. John, welcome into the program.
Yeah, I mean, no shirt, no shoes, no service. Other than that, you're good to go.
Awesome.
Oh, so I could wear one of my my Rush Limbaugh ties, maybe, huh? From the back of the closet. Yeah. Okay. All right. Maybe I'll do that. Well, tell us about the inauguration. I know you've been working diligently, and it's a lot of heavy lifting to get this big extravaganza together.
Yeah, this is one of the most fun things I've ever done. So here's what we have on Monday, January 13th, 9 o'clock in the morning, a salute to heroes. That's going to be in the Capitol Rotunda. It's open to the public. We're going to be honoring police, firefighters, first responders, active and retired military heroes in Missouri. And Governor Kehoe, Governor-elect Kehoe, is going to lead that program at 9 o'clock. 11:30 is the inaugural ceremony. And so you'll have the governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, treasurer, and attorney general will be sworn in. That'll be great. We've got the Missouri National Guard Band is going to perform at that. A tremendous national anthem singer who currently works for the St. Louis Police Department. So that ceremony starts at 11:30. At 1:45, the Clydesdales, 8 Clydesdales and the wagon are going to go from the Capitol building to the governor's mansion at 1:45. And that will lead to the public meet and greet at the governor's mansion. Anybody can go through the line and greet the new governor.
And the First Lady.
And the First Lady, Claudia Kehoe. Right.
Who doesn't want to be called the First Lady? We talked about that yesterday, right?
No, she's Claudia. She's the best. And the ball starts at 7 p.m. in the state capitol.
Wow.
So those are the events on Monday, January 13th.
Talk to us a little bit about the history. I think the first inauguration I sat out and it was super cold was, I think, would have been 2005 maybe. I remember it being freezing. But you know, we do this regularly. What's different about this year as opposed to past years?
Nothing.
Okay.
So,
I like tradition.
Yeah, it's very traditional. In fact, I produced the 2005 inaugural for Matt Blunt, Stephanie, and it's a lot of similarities here. We are going to have some former governors in attendance. John Ashcroft is going to be in attendance.
Great.
Jay Nixon is going to be in attendance. Matt Blunt. And that's always great to see some of the history that the state has right there in attendance. So it's just going to be a great day.
John, I go back to some of the history of inaugurations past, all the way back to high school, being the chauffeur for my folks at Kit Bonds. But I remember, fun stuff at the inauguration. Jimmy Kirkpatrick in his patented Kelly green blazer. Maybe Irish Kehoe should rock that idea. But the weirdest one that still sticks in my mind was Jay Nixon and his potluck and handing out pot holders to the crowd.
Yeah. Well, John, we're not going to have pot holders. But we are going to have fun. I don't know that the Clydesdales have ever been part of the inauguration, so that could be a first this year. And, Governor-elect Kehoe, he's a down home kind of guy, and so we're going to have a down home kind of inaugural.
Can you talk a little bit more? I had a friend from out of town who said, "Oh, I want to come in for the inaugural ball, and I need a seat at the dinner." And I said, "We don't have a dinner." So, I mean, for folks who haven't been, who maybe want to experience this for the first time, can you talk about what happens at the inaugural ball?
Yeah. So the great thing about the ball is that the legislators' offices obviously are all there in the Capitol. And many of them will have hospitality in their offices. So there'll be food and drink. The main highlight, I guess, of the ball is the Grand March of all of the state representatives and state senators. They come down the grand staircase, get their photo taken, and get introduced. And the voice of the Tigers, Mike Kelly, is going to be the MC of the inaugural ball. So the legislators will go down and be recognized, and then we've got a 20-piece big band that's going to be performing, and so they'll allow you to cut the rug on the floor there of the rotunda.
I have a great photo of Jennifer Bukowsky and I on the dance floor from the last one. Yeah, we really had a good time.
Now that caught my attention. A big band, like with a horn section and the real thing, huh?
It's a big band. Yeah, they are.
Can I bring my horn and sit in?
No.
Oh, sorry. What band is it?
It's oh boy.
That's okay.
It's the Red something or others, and they're very good.
From where?
This is just a guess, Randy. But I'm guessing that in order to be in the band, they probably have a stricter dress code than what we discussed at the beginning of this interview. I do have a performance tux.
Don't know if it fits anymore. At any rate, so are they from Missouri, as Scott Fawn would say? Yeah, okay.
They're from all over the state.
Oh, cool. That's neat.
They are the Red Slipper Warriors. That's the name of the band.
Oh, Tim.
So
yeah.
you can look. Hey, Randy.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever work at Six Flags playing the trumpet?
Oh, I played the trombone at Six Flags, playing the same darn show 6 times a day for a whole 2 summers. Yes, back in the day. Oh, my God. The same show. Oh, it was like, if there is a hell, that can be it. I mean, I'm glad all the patrons enjoyed it, but the same thing.
So you and I worked together. I was the piano player at the train station.
Really? No, I was in the theater there, in the whatever. I'll be darned. I didn't realize that. Hey, well, maybe we ought to start up our own band so at the next inauguration we can play. How's that sound?
Yeah. I may sit in for a tune on the piano after midnight.
Do like DC guys. You could do one of the side inaugural balls and have your own.
There you go.
Have your own folks.
I do need to ask you though, John. What are the contingencies for bad weather? Because that could happen. So that must be another thing you have to attend to.
It is. I know that in the last 50 years, the swearing in has not been moved inside. I don't know before that. I don't have the history. So our contingencies are, we've got the regular swearing-in ceremony, and then in case of really bad weather, we've got the speedy quick swearing-in ceremony.
I see. Okay.
And then if it has to move inside, that's I'm just, let's all pray that we don't have
I can't imagine that. But that's I like that. That's good.
I'm pretty sure that's how I got a good seat at the Matt Blunt inauguration because I was only an intern, but I think the temperature was cold enough that no one else really wanted to go out and sit there, and that's how I ended up there.
It was so cold. It was so cold that day. But we got through it.
It was really good. All right. So for folks who want to learn more about the inauguration, the website, Randy, is securing
Missouri'sFuture.org.
And I guess, is everything happening that one day, or should we be looking for additional events?
Nope, that's it. It's Monday, 13th of January, and we'll have a new governor, and it's going to be a great day.
Now we should mention, John, that this is a .org, meaning this is a nonprofit organization, right?
Yes.
And there is a tab on securingMissouri'sFuture.org. There's a button there for sponsorship for those who want to sponsor. Is that still available, or has that been closed?
Oh, no, it's available.
Okay, because there are people that may want to contribute to that rather than spend the taxpayer money. I mean, this is privately funded, right?
It is. It's not tax deductible, but it is privately funded, and we're going to release our donors and our expenditures too once the festivities are concluded.
Okay, cool.
And historically, that's how inaugurations have been handled, right?
More often than not, yes.
Very good. Well, John Hancock, thank you and your staff for getting this all together. I know it's an enormous project, and I'm sure it'll be pulled off spectacularly well. So thank you again for that. And again, that website is securingmissouri'sfuture.org, folks, for those of you that want to have a full schedule of all the festivities that day on January 13th, just a couple short weeks away. Thanks a lot. Have a good holiday and rest up, John.
Merry Christmas.
All right. Merry Christmas to you, John Hancock. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited, and it's time to start making your plans now. It's a full day of events, and for folks who work in downtown Jefferson City, good to be aware of ththose events going on.
I've only been to one of those events, but it was fun to walk around and sort of visit. I enjoyed visiting the various legislators' offices and shooting the bull with them. It was fun. It's going
to be fun.
It was nice. Wonder if they're going to have healthy snacks or unhealthy snacks. I guess we can have unhealthy one night. Yeah, why not? When we come back, let's talk about something that's a lot of fun with the Kelsey brothers and a Mizzou signee. Stay tuned.
This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
There we go, boys.
University of Missouri. Shout out to Marquise Davis, running back out of Cleveland Heights. I'm sure he'll play running back there. He's one of the best players in the state of Ohio this year. I'm pretty sure I saw a stat line that had him rushing like 24 rushes for 400 yards.
What?
And 8 touchdowns in one game.
Gosh, one game?
So that's Travis and Jason talking about a signee, a running back who must be a phenom in Ohio there. John, what do you know about this guy?
Yeah, well, like the Kelsey said on their podcast, he's like one of the leading players coming out of the whole state of Ohio, all-state player and all. And, boy, give it to Coach Drinkwitz. He's got one heck of a signing list going into 2025.
Did I hear him say 24 rushes for 400 yards in
That's
one
what
game?
He said.
He was just like running up and down the field.
Fun to watch.
I mean, that would be something. So this guy must be really a phenomenon. That's wild. Oh, that's good to hear. So now I keep reading about not only with Mizzou but with other high profile operations that people will be signed up or have made commitments, but then they back out. Is there a time when after that you don't back out? I mean, are there any rules there, or is it at the last minute you can decide and go to some other SEC or some other? How does that all work?
Well, they work so far ahead with their scouting and all of that, trying to get kids to sign.
Yeah.
The kids will get, some of these big dogs like this kid presumably probably get a half a dozen offers from, tier 1 teams and all. And, he has indicated a letter of intent to attend the University of Missouri, but then you hear at the 11th hour they go somewhere else. So it's quite the sleight of hand on behalf of the crew that goes out to talk to the kids.
Well, and of course, nothing stops them from moving on to greener pastures before we play that bowl game.
Did you have to bring that up?
Well, we can bring up for Randy's benefit, too. It's not just Luther Burden who's not going to play in that game. Two more, Armand Membu and, who's the other one who's not going to play? Oh, Chuck Hicks, the linebacker. They're not going to play in the Music City Bowl either.
I saw that story, and I thought, I don't want to be poopy pants. Here it is. Linebacker Chuck Hicks, tight end Brett Norfleet are going to miss it. And I don't know if that's for injury or not, but they're going to miss it. Why are they missing it? Is it for injury or for choice? Do we know?
I need to pull up my thing.
This is according to Missouri. And Missouri linebacker Chuck Hicks has opted out of the Music City. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. And then Hicks explained on X that he opted out of the game to spend time with his wife and children during the holiday season. To fill the gap, the Tigers.
You should like
That's
that,
so
Randy.
Wholesome. You're like the nuclear family,
right in your lane.
Excuse me. You're a football player.
You could
you also don't have family.
Excuse me. You're a high-profile, well-paid football player. Now you're well-paid. It's a different story now. NIL. It's a different story now. You have a different responsibility to the community that supports you.
But maybe also a responsibility to your family.
Well, they'll get over it. And Brett Norfleet will miss the game after. Okay, he's excused. I give him an
hurt,
excuse.
Isn't he?
Yeah, I'll give him a doctor's slip, knee surgery.
How tall is he? 9 feet tall?
Yeah, I'll give him a. I'm sorry. Look.
No, you're not. Don't say you're sorry.
What brought you to the dance?
Sorry, not sorry.
I'm not sorry. The team, the community that supports you, that brings you to the dance, that pays their tickets, that buys the $20 beer, whatever. Okay. They expect all season. They supported you. They rallied behind you. They gave it up for you. And then you abandon them in the bowl game. That's not fair.
Speaking of, have you driven by there? They are not wasting their time on that construction. It's crazy.
It was fun to navigate around the north end of the stadium complex during ball games, let me tell you.
Yeah, they are taking care of it, although it's not expected to be completed even through the next season, right, John?
No, I think it's going to be a 2-season deal.
Yeah.
Be pretty neat when it's all done, though.
That's for sure.
So Terry says, I don't know, I'm interested in the text thread is very active, switching gears here, concerning a potential government shutdown. John says, family, a convenient excuse. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. What's so special about that? I'm sorry, play the darn game, Play the game.
We discussed this about Luther Burden III, who's potentially going to go real high in the NFL draft, and he opted out, for the presumed reason he doesn't want any career-ending injuries in a bowl game, and know where you're coming from. But we can see his logic.
My thing is, he's not breaking any rules, so I don't see an issue with it.
Would you play that country song? One of my favorite ones. It's all about me. It's all about me. What happened to team? What happened to community?
Do you know any of the other lyrics to your favorite song?
No, I don't. What about sacrifice for the community? It's not even a sacrifice. It's a theoretical
Should he put that
sacrifice.
above his family? Because going in is like life-changing money for the people who raised him and the people in his smaller circle.
There's a lot of people making a lot less than these stars that will be working on Christmas. I'm thinking first I represent the people that pour the concrete and do the iron, and we need a new stadium, and pretty soon everyone's voting for the bill.
Everyone's got their one thing. I mean, then you go back to people who talk about a balanced budget amendment or something, because what's going to happen? I mean, you get that in Jefferson City some, but because we have to balance our budget, and what we're looking at facing in January is actually maybe a slight revenue decline. Not everyone's going to get their one thing, I don't think, at the state level coming up here.
A 3-legged sack race through a minefield. That's a pretty good description.
They've been on fire. Is
between Schmidt and Alford, man, they're going at it there.
Well, and Burleson, dumpster fire,
too.
And all the other. I'm wondering, is Kennedy like sharing his speechwriter or his staff with the rest of these y'all?
Well, you're speaking of Jefferson City, and it turns out...
Speaking of a dumpster fire.
Yeah, it seems like in Jefferson City, it seemed like there was a little bit of a communication discord yesterday. Do we have some problems?
And I would just like the record to show that I think Stephanie had a worse time than I did.
Yeah, I really did. So not only, and a lot of folks in mid-Missouri, I'm sure, were with me, where my phone turned into $1,000 paperweight, and I returned to the Stone Ages for about 12 hours yesterday. And not only, so I couldn't make any phone calls. It sounds like Hannah had the same thing. Like, I could answer the phone, but no one could hear me, and I couldn't make any phone calls out.
I had 2 stages of it, okay? On my way home from work.
The first level of hell, and then
yes. I had to run a couple errands, and as I was coming into Jefferson City on Highway 63, about the time I passed all the ball fields there on the right.
Same.
I realized I only had one tiny little bar of service, which was unusual. The further I get into Jefferson City, it just keeps kind of coming in and out. I get into the store I'm going to, and I'm SOS, searching for service or whatever.
I was saying SOS a lot yesterday.
So I restarted my phone. I restarted my phone. It didn't fix it. So I was like, okay, it's probably an outage, whatever. When I get home, I'll have Wi-Fi. I can text the husband. Wasn't that worried about it because they usually fix it quickly. So about the time I hit St. Martin's on the way to California, I get service again. Magic. Boom. I get a bajillion notifications that I missed while I was without service.
I went the same route. It turned out after I finally got mine back on, my phone had done some errant hands-off calls to people on my address book list.
Yeah.
Well, then I came back to Jefferson City later in the evening to finish up our 1-for-1 Commerce Bank food drive, and my phone showed I had service, but very quickly it became clear I did not, because I could receive phone calls, I could answer them, but nobody could hear me.
Yeah, well into late last night, my phone could only text and email on Wi-Fi.
Which, to keep whining here for just one more second, so I was in the Jefferson City studio, in the KWS studio. I was trying to chat with our friends Aaron and Kevin, who are at the food drive location. And then I had Brian Hansen in the Eagle studio in Columbia trying to call me to, there's a lot to coordinate at the end of a radiothon. And yeah, none of us could talk to each other. Well, that was not very helpful.
I was hot when I got to my law office because I had service in Ashland. And by the time I got there, and I'm like, I could have stayed at home and worked.
And Ashland traditionally does not have good service.
Well, and I'm like, why didn't you tell me? And they're like, we would have, except we had no way to reach you, because on top of the Sprint or T-Mobile outage, Brightspeed was also down yesterday in Jefferson City. So I get to work and I am literally in the Stone Ages, because not only do I have no phone service, I can't get on Wi-Fi. I have no internet. So
What's
I have
Brightspeed?
Is
that the local
internet provider?
Formerly CenturyLink.
I see.
And so, Hannah, you said at some point you were Facebook messaging people, which is a good idea, but I couldn't even do that. I had nothing. I had to get in my car. I get a frantic call from my kids who were in Ashland wondering how they're going to get to the basketball game. And I don't know how that call came through, but then, of course, I couldn't call back. And they're kind of freaking out. And I'm like, I have one option, and that's to get in my car and drive. And so it was just, it's really frustrating. We lost a whole day, and I understand stuff happens, but I'm thinking, sheesh, they better clean this up, and I hope they have a good lobbyist.
I haven't heard anything officially, but I was seeing murmurings on Facebook
about the drones.
Well, I did see some of those. I was seeing murmurings on Facebook that maybe a fiber line got cut somewhere on accident. So I hate to be the guy who accidentally did that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and think about the money the money that was lost. Oh, I tried to pick up. I dropped off dry cleaning before Thanksgiving, and I went by to pick up my dry cleaning. They couldn't take my payment because, of course, their payment machine's connected to the internet.
That means it's free, right?
They're like, "Do you have cash?" I'm like, "No, of course not."
There's this thing called a check. Do you carry any checks with you?
No.
I don't even have checks.
We have to hunt for them every time I need a check. It's bad. Luckily, I know my bankers really well. I bank locally, and every once in a while they'll print one out for me.
Can you, ladies and gentlemen, can you just feel through the airwaves the anxiety? Can you just feel the tension and the anxiety that this caused?
I was not a pleasant person to be around yesterday.
Now that sounds to me like physiological signs of withdrawal.
It felt like that very much. It made me want to do drugs.
Did you have any? Did you have any shakes, tremors, or sweating? I mean, those would be signs of withdrawal. Yeah, there you go.
I was having a rough day.
I think maybe some therapy and counseling might be in order. Might be a good thing.
Well,
I agree.
It was one of those things when the power is out and you walk into a room and instinctively you go to hit the light switch. And
you're
it doesn't
just checking
turn on.
your phone all the time, and you're like, "Is it?" And it was tricking you because it looked like it should work.
Yep.
And no. And then I actually, when my phone rang, I was like, "Oh, goody!" And I'm like, "Hello, hello, hello," and they're talking to me. And no, nothing.
Human interaction.
It was not great.
So
I'm not proud of it.
No, that's okay. I mean, look, I remember, was it last week when I left my phone at home and I was without? And remember,
I would be late to work
when your daughter was days away from giving birth. That time.
And remember, it took me what, about half an hour, 45 minutes to get a little less anxious about it and realize, you know what, this is actually liberating. I don't worry about it now. I can think rather than be distracted.
The daughter that was days away from delivering was not quite so relaxed.
But you know what? We would have figured it out. I mean, Helene would have called you or called Stephanie or something. We'd have called someone.
I think I was getting payback because I was also complaining Saturday morning because we did a double-header basketball game in Slater, Missouri. And just in case you're wondering, there's no phone service in Slater, Missouri.
Rick says, I am actually a real licensed professional counselor. Stephanie, I can make room in my schedule for you.
I'm just saying, y'all want to dog on me for my screen
Rick.
time and my digital reliance. I would like to present to the court Stephanie Bell.
So much of our, Hannah, you mentioned the power outage. Just so much of our lives now. I mean, everything you need to do, as far as me, for my work day, relies on the internet. And I was thinking of you, Hannah, because I'm like, there's a lot of technology in our Zimmer buildings as well.
Happening on a radiothon day is less than ideal. Let's just put it that way.
Well, with Steph, too, because you've talked about, relying on the internet when you're at ball games. And when I talked to Mr. Bell at the Zimmer Christmas party, he shared with me he was estimating 12 to 15 hours a week you guys had your butts in the bleachers.
Oh, yeah. I might have asked Santa for some of those bleacher seats. Those nice ones that you carry with the backs, because those old middle school gyms in small town rural Missouri. I'm feeling
Sports.
I am feeling my every bit of my age.
Well, the Wake Up family's phones are working this morning, and they're texting and pretty vocal about both the shutdown and whether Mizzou players should be morally bound. That's the way I'll put it, morally bound to play the game. We have one listener. Only one that I see, Hannah and Stephanie, that say that if the game, it's a career path, why risk injury for a game? However, others are, I think, on the side of they should play the game. I've
got one from listener Tim who says, college students go to school to prepare for a career, football players too. Luther's career is going to be the NFL. I don't blame him for not jeopardizing that.
That is a good argument.
One listener says, listening to your conversation, I have two daughters who play college sports. They are both on scholarship. We always instilled in them that this should be looked at as a job, which they agreed to. They are being paid to play. It's even more with this NIL stuff, eh? If they don't want to commit the time required, they should not play. One daughter played basketball and missed Thanksgiving and would only get 1 week over Christmas for break. So I'm taking that as they should play. So I think we're getting, the balance is, Coach Drink made a plea early in the season. If the fans really supported the team, they would prove it by selling out every home game. I believe they did. Now, Where are the players?
But that's not on the coach. But I think that was from listener Ben. It's really tough because, yes, you have a commitment to your team and your school, but you also have a commitment to your family. Right? I mean, you hear so many of these stories from the NFL players that, they didn't always have the best upbringing. They didn't have the money, and that someone in their life supported them, took them to every practice, made sure they had the best equipment, or whatever. And so many of them, they want to get that contract to return the favor to the people in their life that have supported them, not only in the last 2, 3, 4 years, but their entire life.
When is the game?
It's the 30th.
When is Christmas?
The 25th.
Case closed, counselor.
That's not the mic drop that you thought it was.
No.
Look out, you're going to get a redress out of her here pretty quick.
Well, no, look, and I always worked on holidays, and I thought that, okay, that wasn't good, and there was a little time to spend with the family, and we made time to spend. Maybe it wasn't the Orthodox but I always thought that, hey, that sets an example for children that, work is good. Hard work is good work. Wait a minute, I sound like Kamala.
Yeah,
and it sets an example.
Is there such a thing as too much work, though?
It sets an example about work and a work ethic. That's what we thought.
That is the most Gen Z thing you've ever said,
Well,
Hannah.
I was going to kind of call myself out because there are very different expectations from the different generations on what a career looks like.
You're telling me.
No.
Yeah,
we know.
Well, look at Randy's specialty, too. I mean, for the majority of your career in medicine, you were a first responder as an OB.
Yeah. But
GYN.
But in my current one, I'm on 24/7 for my members, right?
For sure.
And they do call me, and I expect that. But I think it sets an example for your children that you're working and you do have an allegiance to your job, to your profession, to something outside of yourself.
And yes, my clients pay a price for 24/7 availability.
Right.
And there have been many weekends, those initiative petitions always come up right before the holiday. Usually it's Labor Day weekend that I have spent hours and hours and hours looking at signatures.
That's right.
And it happens. We know it happens. And
your kids will be hard workers.
Well, I had an experience once where, I was gone a whole lot and my kids were real small and my daughter said, tomorrow. I think that's 4 out of 5.
Well, I hope you hit it tomorrow for my last day.
I know. Hannah's last day tomorrow. This is your penultimate day. Last day.
Well, let's make it an ultimate.
We will make tomorrow an ultimate last day.
What's hot with Hannah this morning? Another weird TikTok trend. This one involving Dr. Pepper, which I've never been a huge fan of.
Really?
Like, if it's the only option, like, I'll go for it. I'm more of like a Pepsi or a Coke type of gal.
Coke Zero and number 2.
You haven't spent enough time in the Deep South, apparently.
Yeah, Coke Zero is bomb, but I don't like Diet Coke, which is weird. But the latest trend involving Dr. Pepper for the holidays is warm Dr. Pepper.
What?
Ooh.
People are putting it in a mug and
Sure.
heating it up with a slice of lemon
That sounds disgusting.
and enjoying it like a warm drink.
Like a hot toddy.
I guess.
Yeah.
I can't imagine like a warm carbonated
No.
drink.
But there
I'll
was
put a slug of Southern Comfort in it. Call it even.
Ooh,
You know?
actually, that might
That'll
be
fix
something.
anything. There was a lemon addition. Was it a cola or was it something a while back that was part of what came in the can?
That's been pretty popular.
Yeah.
I love like a hot apple cider.
Ah,
These,
not bad.
yeah, a lot of calories though, but that
The-
would be
the-
my drink of choice.
Some versions of the drink, they're suggesting to spike it with rum. So
There you go.
There you go. They're calling it a boomer. But some people put it in a mug and pop it in the microwave. Some people are even like doing a whole crock pot of it and like making a big batch of it.
Warm Dr. Pepper
Yeah.
Like a punch
with
almost,
some lemon
huh?
in it.
Just
Yeah.
remind yourself these are the same people who ate Tide Pods.
No.
Or at least
no.
their kids.
Listen, this is a drink called the Boomer, okay? I am going to guess that nobody from my generation.
Doug says cherry Dr. Pepper with vodka is the bomb.
Hey.
And you will be bombed when
See,
you enjoy that.
I'll add vodka to anything and probably enjoy it. But ask me to drink a beer, I'm going to have to pass.
You know, if you drink those clear liquors, they do tend to have less intoxicating effect and long hangover times and headaches because they're not as complex.
Well, and vodka is also like, what, 0 calorie,
Yeah.
zero
Not-
sugar
it's
usually?
not zero
Oh, no, it's not
calorie.
0 calories.
No,
Or
it's
zero
got
carb?
alcohol. It's got calories.
No.
Is it carb? Is that
Yeah,
what I'm
0
thinking of?
carbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that turns into carbs, trust me.
Listen.
They have more than the effect of carbs.
You take a water and add like one of the little flavor packets to it, like
Yeah.
the little powder sticks or like a little bit of Mio, like the liquid flavoring.
Yeah.
Make yourself a flavored water and then add vodka to that.
Yeah, I drank a lot of Crystal Light and vodka in college, which is
Yep.
why I don't drink it now.
You hydrate while you booze.
Well,
You and Vladimir Putin, right?
referring to our last segment,
The fight for our freedom will take hard work. But like I always say, we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work can be joyful work.
so there, Kamala gets it right once in a while. We'll be back.
I think just local news is like the most important stuff to me, even though it's kind of like bad stuff.
of a couple of apparently Hispanic individuals who I get the sense were illegally here. Not certain, but the way he was talking through his press conference the other day.
Aren't they all being detained by ICE?
Well, no, the deal is, there's this apartment complex. Was it Martha Raddatz that told J.D. Vance, when he said, man, these apartments in Aurora, they're overrun with Tren de Aragua people. Well, it's just a couple of, and she says, listen to yourself. Remember when he said that?
Yeah.
Do you hear yourself? Okay. That was a famous moment in the campaign. Okay. So these people, this Tren de Aragua people from Venezuela, these gangs, are just taking over this apartment building, just ransacking apartments. Well, apparently what they did was they took a couple of people out of their parking. They were either coming home from somewhere or going somewhere in the parking lot. They apprehended them, took them to a different apartment, ransacked their apartment while they were under the Tren de Aragua's custody, so to speak. They took off their fingernails. They pistol whipped them. They stabbed the guy in the leg.
And they were beaten. Yeah.
Beaten.
Is there a worse pain than having your fingernails ripped out?
I don't know. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So what happens is then the police chief, he got pretty fired up during his presser, and here's just a little bit of it when he talks about this is what he got him fired up. He called the White House about this. Listen.
Again, when you look at the history of this, again, I had a discussion with an individual from the White House, and that occurred back on September the 23rd, I believe. And that person basically told me that, hey, once these immigrants get across the border, that's all we really care about. And to me, that's a problem. That's a huge problem because we have individuals that come to a country, they get dropped off into a community, they have absolutely no infrastructure, they have absolutely no support, they have absolutely no guidance from the federal government about what to do, how to live, how to survive. And this is the ramifications of that activity. This is the ramifications of not monitoring what's occurring and how it's occurring and who it is occurring to. And so, Aurora, we are now in the process, as many other cities throughout this nation, of trying to pick up the pieces of an incredibly bad system that was in place.
Okay, so did you hear that? He said he called the White House and they said once they're across the border, it's Pontius Pilate, right? They wash their hands of this. Nope, we're done with them. Why? Because they want to do the great replacement. They want more dependent future citizens that would be dependable votes by their calculation. Can you think of it any other way? And this guy, this police chief, just admitted what we've all known. And I wonder if he got a call from the White House after that. I don't know. Man.
You would hope so.
He laid it out there.
I mean, and it's scary because I was just looking at where Aurora, Colorado is. So it's just east of Denver. It's like a suburb, population around, I think, 300-some thousand. I mean, it's like Columbia, right? I mean, slightly bigger.
It's a substantial city.
But to have this going on, right, and it's awful. And then, to be a local law enforcement officer and say, we've got a real problem here, and to call the White House and to not get any backup on that, I think is horrifying.
And he said that he did work with, in terms of getting their ID. I think they arrested John, 14 of them? 14 of them?
Yeah. I think that's what the story said.
And he said they're working with ICE. Now, the question is, will he continue to stand, as Tom Homan said in a separate interview, shoulder to shoulder with ICE, turn them over, and start getting these people out of there? He did say that, these people that are, he didn't say it directly, but he said, these victims, we're not going to make them second victims, basically, because of their documentation status. So I assume they were illegal aliens, but they were minding their own business in their apartment, presumably peace-loving people, right? And they may have been here illegally. That's what I got the flavor from this, 30-minute presser. But he said, they're victims of violent crime. Let's go after these criminals and let's take care of them, Well,
and I guess a nearby city council member from Castle Pines, which is close to Aurora, said it's these sanctuary city policies that are leading to the result like this. And we've seen even in Colombia, they
Yes.
were a sanctuary city for transgenderism or something. So, you think maybe even in a suburb, maybe you're a little bit removed from the city center of Denver, but it's these policies that are driving these people into these areas. And I mean, it's scary. Right? These people, it was just random. I mean, what was the point, right, of torturing them and ransom? What were these people looking for?
Right.
Did they need money?
Well, they took items of value out of their home. But here's the thing. He said, these were courageous illegals. Why? Because a lot of the gangs prey on their same ethnicity that are illegal.
Because then they think they can't go to the police.
That's right. They're afraid they're less likely to go to the police because they're afraid that they'll get in trouble.
Sure.
The innocent victim, right?
Sure.
Innocent in this sense. And I don't know. That's a tough one for me to calibrate and to try to process. I mean, should these people at this point be? I think we have some very big fish to fry, named the gangs, the violence, the criminals, the drug distributors, the sex traffickers. I think, we got enough first level that we can deal with, and then we'll worry about the rest, right? But let's start with the people that are ruining people's lives, killing young women, little girls in Houston, and, then we can deal with the rest. And Trump, Vance have said that, and Holman said that. But yet the media, what's left of the mainstream media, wants to continue to make it sound like we're going to just mass deport everyone who, quote, undocumented. First of all, we don't have the means to do that. We don't have the courts. We've talked with people on that on the Center for Immigration Studies. We don't have enough immigration judges to deal with all that right now, because they would be, since they've been here a while, they are entitled to some kind of a due process before they're deported, right?
And Trump's taken a more, in recent interviews, has taken a more nuanced position on that, on the mass deportations. But certainly, I think people, they voted for change. I think for a lot of people, this was their number one issue, and I think they're going to expect to see some results here early on in 2025.
We had a texter here, and I don't have it handy, but someone said that he was in the military and said that, when the government was shut down, it was a real hardship because he had a baby in diapers and so forth. Okay. And I'm thinking about let's assume that a lot of people who would otherwise be Trump supporters, I wonder if they're less supportive with what Trump did when he doubled down on what Musk and Ramaswamy said over the day yesterday, which was squash this bill. No, can't happen. This is opposite to what the people voted for, and why this Doge project is here, and why we're going to get something done. This is counterproductive. And then Trump doubled down, right? And he just, we should read that statement, the Trump-Vance statement. It was definitive. Don't let this happen, and don't kick the can down the road into our administration and make us have to deal with this. So if you voted for Trump, but you might be adversely affected by a shutdown, which he would be endorsing should the Congress decide not to or can't pass just a clean CR, a continuing resolution. Would that flavor your overall impression of Trump and your support for him? 573-874-9390. Or is it a matter of sometimes we have to take one for the team for doing the right thing, even though we may be personally affected? The team being fiscal restraint in Washington, D.C.
Don't hold your breath.
You don't think people would do that? Here's the statement from Trump and Vance. It says, the most foolish and inept thing ever done by congressional Republicans was allowing our country to hit the debt ceiling in 2025. It was a mistake and now something that must be addressed. Meanwhile, Congress is considering a spending bill that would give sweetheart provisions for government censors, because they do want to extend this State Department agency called the Intergovernmental Global Agency or something, but it's essentially the way they can censor mostly conservatives. The bill would make it, did you see that? If there was a request from an investigation in, let's just say, Liz Cheney and Adam Schiff and those on the J6 panel for their emails, the vendor would not have to provide those. It would somehow cut them out of the usual request mechanism and enable to obtain the discovery, if you will, right? And did you see some of the text that was proposed? It was interesting. So, going on, Trump and Vance say we should pass a streamlined spending bill that doesn't give Chuck Schumer and the Democrats everything they want. Republicans want to support our farmers, pay for disaster relief, and set our country up for success. The only way to do that is with a temporary funding bill without Democrat giveaways. Republicans must capital get smart and capital tough. If Democrats threaten to shut down the government unless we give them everything they want, then capital call their bluff. It is Schumer and Biden who are holding up aid to our farmers and disaster relief. This chaos would not be happening if we had a real president. We will in 32 days.
He's also on the countdown.
I just don't think, I don't know how it's going to be any different if they give everything the Democrats want now. What's going to change in March? Nothing's going to change.
We're going to have this conversation all over
It's
again.
a thinner majority then in the House.
But we heard a lot of people talking tough. You know, we've heard, again, last year we heard them talking tough when we did this a couple of times. They talked tough, you know, before that. And we still are getting a lot of fluff in these CRs.
At some point, we have to be principled as citizens, not just voters. And sometimes that means you say, you know what? I'll find a way, because these shutdowns are very temporary. They always are. Well, I'll find a way.
And it goes back to what we heard Senator Schmidt say earlier, where you played that, Randy, about individual appropriation bills, because I think so many people are, when you lump it all together, so many people are forced to vote for stuff that they don't want because there's one thing that they do want. And busting this up and doing it like it's supposed to be done allows for, I think, for folks to have more negotiating power and to be able to vote on these things individually. In that way, you don't feel like you have to vote for all this other junk because you really want, you know, disaster relief.
And that has political consequences, right? Because if you're in a purple district and you vote against this, right, then your opponent come next cycle is going to say, he voted against aid for hurricane victims, or what, name the project, right?
Yeah, but also if you vote for it, they're going to say he voted for stadium funding, or she voted for, you know, and so it cuts both ways. But I think it's a good reason why we need to return to individual appropriation bills.
We got ourselves into this mess by
individual appropriations bills, like the bridge to nowhere back in the day.
We all got ourselves into this mess by voting for our particular proprietary handout from the government. It all started in 1913 when we gave the government a slush fund called the income tax. They have a perpetual slush fund, rather than what happened before that was, you need to build some roads, we're going to raise a tax for the roads. You need to go fight a war, we're going to raise a tax for an army. And then it's going to go away. And you're going to keep your money. And you can build your own local roads. Okay. I'm sorry. We need to get back to some common sense first principles, in my opinion. What's in your opinion coming up, John?
Bacon-flavored cereal or cereal-flavored bacon? Cereal favorite Cinnamon Toast Crunch has hit the grocery stores. Hormel announced its partnership with Cinnamon Toast Crunch with a new variety of black label bacon with the cereal's signature crisp, sugary crunch. The cinnamon sugar, Cinnadust, found on Cinnamon Toast Crunch, they say, is rubbed onto the thick-cut bacon and held overnight for optimum flavor. The unholy union hit the coolers on Monday, and the folks at Hormel say black label bacon and Cinnamon Toast Crunch doesn't get any more real than that. They also plan some partnerships and limited time products next year. Other potential products supposedly in the works include, and we're going to call them on this, teriyaki Spam and Captain Crunch, Oscar Mayer wieners paired with Fruit Loops, and barbecue flavor Vienna sausages teamed up with Lucky Charms. One of the ones that got flushed, Star-Kissed frosted mini wheats. And now you know the rest of that story.
You can leave all that behind, but that bacon thing sounds kind of good. My brother makes like a candied bacon that you sprinkle like the brown sugar on. It's real sweet. I
hope that Scott Steele with Steele's Fine Custom Meats is listening.
Yeah, that sounds good. Cinnamon Toast Crunch dusted bacon. I'm in.
I got some bacon from him last weekend when we were there.
Yep. Man, that was some good bacon he was cooking up while we were there.
It's pretty good.
I mean, is there such a thing as bad bacon? I don't know. I mean, you could add bacon to almost anything. And
ask your coronary arteries; they would say no.
Oh,
there you go.
Well,
Vienna sausages and
just
Lucky
a reminder,
Charms.
Now and then bacon. Once a week, I have a slice of bacon. Saturday morning.
You have one slice of bacon
once a week?
Maybe two.
One.
Maybe you can eat one slice of bacon.
Or even two.
What I don't dig is my wife, last night I did a little video on the one page, and all she had was this turkey bacon chicken.
Oh, turkey bacon's the worst.
Oh, my God.
It's
like, honey, if we're going to eat bacon, let's eat bacon.
It's like warm lunch meat.
Yeah.
It's gross.
Yeah. But God love her. That's good. She's looking out for my arteries. That's okay.
Here's something that's bound to start a fight. Chewy or crispy bacon?
There's only one answer.
There is.
What is it?
Crispy.
How about Annie?
Well, it depends. If crispy is like burnt, no. But you mean just crispy but not
like
burnt?
Just slightly off burnt. But I'm like a burnt kind of girl. Like burn.
You're making it even worse here. Do you know when you burn that protein and fat, it forms something called nitrosamines, which are just terrible.
You should
terrible
keep that
for
to
your
yourself.
colon.
I'm about to turn your microphone off.
Keep that to yourself.
Put your colon up to the microphone, and it'll tell you how that
She's done it
bacon
before.
tastes.
No, that was kind of the other side, but we won't go.
No, but I'm just saying it's not good for you to burn that stuff. It's really not. Like searing meat.
Okay, I'm not eating bacon to be healthy.
Yeah, and have you ever roasted a marshmallow? It needs to be black.
Chicken is really good when it's
blackened.
blackened.
You guys are killing me here. I don't
Brussels sprouts, when they've got like a good burn to them, so good.
Well, you can tell us burnt vegetables are bad now, too?
Wynn says, I was going to write a book of recipes for leftover bacon. Then I realized there's no such thing as leftover bacon.
Facts.
You know, this, for those of you who like a little bourbon now and then, this year, when you're together, try this. Take your little swigger of bourbon, whatever you want, your little jigger or two of bourbon, and use a nice crisp bacon stick as a swizzle stick to just not
and the old sheriff kind of walked off the stage. The world seems to think President Trump is already in office. He's getting there. So, yes, I'm definitely counting. Absolutely.
Well, we do want to cover a few of the items going around when it comes to national security, cybersecurity, conventional warfare. You are our go-to expert, of course. Let's start with what happened in Syria. Did that creep up on you, or maybe not? But it seemed like it crept up on the news cycle. All of a sudden, Assad's in Moscow, and the government's collapsed there. What led up to it, and what does it mean for our security going forward?
Well, it's kind of a mixed bag. The fact that Assad is gone, that's great. The resistance has been there fighting him, frankly, since the beginning of the Arab Spring uprising, years ago. And what happened was the combination of Israel taking out Hezbollah, basically defanging Iran and showing that they're really kind of a paper tiger. The Russians kind of being distracted in Ukraine. All of those folks propped up the Syrian regime, and the combination of that with new support from Turkey for these various resistance forces basically knocked the stops out of Assad's regime, and boom, down he fell. Now, the mixed part is the guys in charge of the coalition of different groups who had been fighting Assad is the old al-Qaeda guy, right? He was the head of al-Qaeda in Syria. They were called the al-Nusra Front, and they changed their name to the HTS. I can't remember what that is in Arabic, but it's he says, look, I'm not part of al-Qaeda anymore. I don't want to conquer the whole world for Allah. We just want to conquer Syria for Allah. But he is still a radical Salafist Islamist, which means he wants to conquer the world. But he's smart enough now to say, look, we don't have any beef with America. We don't care about Israel. Well, we kind of don't care about Israel, but there's still some things leaking out that maybe they do. So basically it's added another really dangerous group right on Israel's border, which clearly affects Israel, but also affects us, because we don't know how much of his al-Qaeda DNA is still in there. He's not George Washington and Thomas Jefferson for Syria. He is a bad guy, too. He's got ISIS elements who fight in his coalition also. So we need to kind of go slow. Maybe this guy has changed, and he'll turn out to maybe not be our best buddy, but at least not be an enemy. But we don't know that yet. So it is important. We need to keep watching it. We need to be very careful what we do as far as support or aid of any sort until we've determined which side of the fence this guy's standing on. So we'll have to wait on that one.
Is there any value to us showing some support lest Iran gets their nose into that tent and starts, supporting them materially, financially, humanitarian-wise? There is some we should investigate to see if there are positive interactions we can have. We can't be like Biden, who is, gives money to Iran all the time when they are avowed enemies. So we need to go slow. I don't think Iran getting in there is going to be that big a possibility, because these guys are radical Sunnis and Iran are radical Shia, and they really hate each other. So that one is not a big possibility, but there is a possibility this guy could be, turn out to be okay. I don't think that's a huge possibility, but it's worth investigating. So we should at least check out those doors to see if they lead anywhere. But again, this is not, let's all do a happy dance. We can do a happy dance that Assad is gone, because he was a really bad guy. But
these guys, the jury's still out.
Colonel, coming closer to home, we've seen the House Intelligence Committee have meetings behind closed doors. We've seen the drones show up as far away as over Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton. What do you think's up with the drones?
It's a really good question. I think I've said this before, that when the government can't say, we don't know what it is, but we know it's not dangerous, it's not going to hurt anything. You can't put those two, phrases together. They either know and it's not dangerous, or we don't know and it could be dangerous. So we got to keep checking it out. I am not satisfied with any of the explanations that have been hitting the internet and, on X and all this. I don't think any of them have sufficient evidence behind them. The Iranian mothership, the looking for a loose nuke, all those things. I'm none of them are ringing true to me yet. But I think we as citizens are justified to be pounding the desk saying, you need to tell us what's happening, federal government. And it needs to be some kind of story that makes sense, not the nonsense we've been getting so far. So we'll have to wait and see. Continue to push. Your listeners should continue to push their legislators to demand answers, because that's the only leverage we have right there. But I'm not quite ready to jump on the train of any of the supposed explanations quite yet.
How concerned should we be? Randy played some audio from Aurora, Colorado earlier this morning and what's going on there with Venezuelan gangs. Does that have national security implications for you?
It sure does, because those guys are not just in Aurora, Colorado. They're all over the country. That is an enormous organized crime network that started in Venezuela. I have a West Point classmate who's a Venezuelan who still lives there 6 months out of the year. And he said, no, you guys need to understand, this is like the mafia. These are not, teenage gangsters, gangbangers. These are organized crime networks that they have now imported into the United States. And they're starting in multiple locations around the country. They're running into our local crime organizations, and in a few spots, they're beating the snot out of them. So it is dangerous. It's not national security. Like, this is not the Venezuelan government invading us. It is national security, and that homeland security is also national security, particularly when it's widespread across the country. So this is a federal problem that needs to be addressed, not left to, local mayors, local police chiefs. They need some help, and it's got to come from the federal level. This is a big deal.
Colonel, quickly, about out of time, could you talk to us about the potential for another government shutdown and what that means to the military, especially those junior enlisted?
Look, it's a massive pain in the backside when these things happen. You can't spend any money professionally, on doing your mission. The pay, our military guys will all get paid. However, it can be delayed a week or two before it comes through. And particularly for those lowest ranking soldiers and their families, a lot of them live from paycheck to paycheck and barely make it. So if you delay that 2 weeks or 3 weeks, that can be catastrophic for them. There are ways to get them help, but it's not a national security disaster. It's really not going to affect readiness unless it goes on, for weeks and weeks and weeks, which it never has. 2-3 weeks is about the extent of it, but it does cause a lot of angst within the force in the military. And why in the world should we screw the people who are willing to put their lives on the line for us? We should be ensuring they don't have to deal with that angst, not adding to it. Congress needs to do its job, but it's got to do its job correctly, and we can't just blow something through because it looks bad in the newspapers. It needs to be done right, because we can't afford any more stupid bills, wasting money, or locking into place processes or organizations that we know President Trump is bound and determined to get rid of. Some of this on the Dem side is clearly an attempt to hamstring President Trump when he gets in office. So we got to make sure whatever gets passed does not do that.
We're talking with retired Army Colonel Steve Bucci, of course, with Heritage and a national security expert. Steve, final question. Have you seen anything coming out of the early murmurs of Doge and Ramaswamy and Musk that you think threatens to cut into the flesh, the meat of our military and our defense capabilities? Or is it still cutting off the fat that maybe needs to be cut out?
Thus far, I have not seen anything that will go into the muscular structure of our military. These guys have a pretty good handle on what is useless appendages on the military and other parts of the government and what is necessary capability. So I have not seen any warning signs yet. I know there are some people that are already clutching their pearls and swooning over, the ideas that they're throwing about, but I think they've got a pretty responsible way to address it, and hopefully the result is going to be a positive one that will take the shackles off our military and our law enforcement, by the way, to do their jobs without being interfered with by silly social experimental programs, and we can get on with the job of defending this country.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. And I think we, above all, we want to make sure that we take a scalpel to this, a nice, firm, big scalpel, but a scalpel, not a machete as they cut their way through the government inefficiency. Hey, we want to wish you the best for you and yours for this holiday, for Christmas and New Year, and we'll be talking to you then in a couple of weeks. But we look forward to that conversation.
Absolutely not. It was
I know.
ugly yesterday in the markets. Let's start with the Dow, which was down 2.58%, S&P down 2.95%, NASDAQ 3.56% down. I mean, just an absolutely ugly day. We took a nosedive. That makes 10 straight days in the red for the Dow. It's the longest losing streak since 1974. We were kind of looking up in the morning, and we were expecting another rate cut by the Feds, which we saw 0.25%. The thing that sent the stocks tanking is we had hoped for more rate cuts in 2025. Originally, the Fed had predicted 4 rate cuts in 2025. They made that prediction in September, and yesterday they said, yeah, it's probably not going to be 4. There are going to be fewer rate cuts next year. And that sent the stock market into a tizzy. I would read you all of the sectors in the red, but they are all in the red. I will note consumer discretionary is most in the red at 4.74% down. So just a disastrous day. As we look forward to today, there really is only one way to go from here. All the futures are pretty significantly in the green this morning, so maybe we'll get a little bit of a bounce back. Now, I know around the holidays, it's a popular time for people to get down on one knee and make a proposal. And we haven't talked weddings much since Hannah, because Hannah's,
I kind of cornered the market on that for so long, there wasn't much left.
We talked a lot, and this was not a consideration for me when I was doing wedding planning many moons ago. I don't know if it was a consideration for Hannah, but if you were in that category and looking perhaps to plan a wedding in 2025, you might want to check the football schedule. And a lot of people apparently are checking the football schedule. Hannah, was that in your plans?
It wasn't, but I have seen people also check the schedule for like opening day of deer season and things like that.
Yes. They said it's particularly of note in the SEC region. But according to the Washington Post, they did an analysis of data from the Knot, which is a big wedding website, and they noted that there are significantly more weddings when the team in your area is on a bye week. The data.
Oh.
That's pretty neat. But how do you get the name of the groom and the bride up on the big screen if it's a bye week?
That's right. They suggested, or they found October 22nd, for example, in 2022, in and around Auburn, Alabama. That was the week that the Tigers had a bye week. That Saturday had 5.3% of the weddings for that year. Nationally, that Saturday is only supposed to have about 3% of the weddings. So if you're looking at the schedule for 2025, make sure your team is on a bye. Apparently, a lot of people look at that, and the data reflects that people are watching that football schedule if they're having a fall
So
wedding.
Tiger fans, you got 6 home games in a row. Plan accordingly.
Right.
There actually was a Mizzou football game, I believe it was the night that my husband and I got married last year. And during the Tigers radio network broadcast that we air on KWOS, former family member Brad Trinago actually gave my husband and I a really sweet wedding shout out during the broadcast.
Oh, cool.
How about that?
So that was pretty cool.
I specifically remember a St. Louis wedding. I think
ask said individual, who is likely to be a very big part of that, named Jennifer Bukowsky. You all know her from the show she does here on Sunday mornings. Also legendary defense attorney. Jennifer, welcome to the program. We have to ask you, are you going to be doing any skating? Are you a skater?
A skater?
An ice skating rink. Did you know the first ice skating rink in Columbia since 1981 is opening just there on Discovery Parkway in 63?
Jennifer's a pickleballer.
At the kitchen. Well, there's pickleball courts there, too, at the big development there. Did you know that?
Yes, I saw that just because I'm a big pickleball player, so I saw the announcement on Facebook. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. So tell us about the GOP nomination process. I think a lot of people may not understand how that all works. You are going to be I don't know, is that set in stone that you're going to now be there? Is there some formal process and vote that occurs for you to be the vice chair of the GOP in Mo?
There is a vote that will take place on February 1st among the 68 committee members to our state party. But on Monday night, the governor-elect, Mike Kehoe, gave his full endorsement of Peter Kinder as chair and me as vice chair of the party for the next 2 years. So that will be decided when the members vote on February 1st. But all 6 statewide elected officials were there, or soon to be, taking office, and they were in agreement. And so it's an honor to have their support. And hopefully the committee members agree with the governor-elect, and we will be put into office.
Talk to us a little bit about what those people do. What is the chair and the vice chair of the Missouri GOP? What are your duties or responsibilities?
Our duties and responsibilities are to support the Republican Party. We're going to be focused on gathering resources to do that, playing in cities that have been ignored by our party for far too long. Like currently, we're working on getting a mayoral candidate on the ballot, a black individual, to challenge Tishwara Jones, who is facing a primary challenger herself, but he's only 700 signatures short of being on the ballot. So looking at the results that President Trump has had in the cities this last time, I think it's a perfect time to make a play for those areas that our party has not focused on enough in the past.
I read a thread that about what's going on in St. Charles County, just west of St. Louis there, that, as people migrate out of St. Louis because of the disaster it has become under Democrat leadership, both, law and order, economically, it's just been a disaster, that a lot of those people are migrating west into a previously just dark red county named St. Charles County, and it's becoming a little more purplish. Is that something that the party would be addressing and trying to get ahead of?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, voter registration is going to be also part of our strategy to make sure that we have Missouri stay red. That Karl Rove has this plan that his man put into action in Texas, because the Democrats are making a big play down there.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of being proactive and getting our message out and getting the right doors knocked on when the time comes.
Jen, is Missouri's Republican Party involved enough in your way of thinking on the national scene? You have been, I think, in the latest election cycle.
Yeah, certain individuals like myself, Stephanie Bell, Mark Ellinger, we're involved with the Republican National Lawyers Association. And so in that way, we've been impactful in going to these battleground states as, election integrity attorneys. So in that way, we've been involved. And then we have a national committee man and committee woman that get to serve on the RNC along with the chair and serve on committees and so on. So, and if you look at President Trump, I mean, Missouri's been punching above its weight in terms of having an impact on the next administration. You have Will Sharp in there as staff secretary. That's a very important role. You had, Eric Schmidt as BFFs with the president and was considered for AG, as was Andrew Bailey. But then you have Ed Martin even is going to be chief of staff of the OMB. And we have, many Missourians get it. Billy Long got picked to head the IRS. We have all kinds of Missourians, and I think that we're punching above our weight with the administration nationally.
You talked a little bit about your work as an election integrity attorney. What other things do you think it's important for leadership in the party to have experience with, and how do you think your experience and skill set matches up and can help lead the party?
Well, I think, just being in tune with what the voters want, the issues that are important to everyday people, like President Trump has definitely tapped into in really forming our party, is key. And I think my experience as a Republican activist, coming on the radio on Gary Nolan every week and having my own show, talking to the voters, talking to the callers, I think that's important. Peter Kinder has a remarkable record to be chair. He was the first in over 50 years to lead one of the chambers in our House as a Republican. He was president pro tem in 2001, and that was a historic thing because it hadn't happened in 50 or 60 years. And then he was the only statewide elected Republican official in 2008, and then even further, I think in 2011 too. I'd have to double check that, but so he's been a stalwart part of our party, and I look forward to learning from him as serving as his vice chair.
Jennifer, clearly on a national level, and I think even on a state level, I think it can be fairly said that the Republican Party is not the party of Barry Goldwater and Ronald Reagan and fiscal conservatism as much as it is now a populist party. But there are those elements. We saw a lot of that really play into some, I guess it resulted in some inaction on conservative issues in the State House last session. How do you as a party leader calibrate and navigate that, recognizing that there is still that thread, that fairly large thread of Republicans who really say, hey, wait a minute, we can't become just Democrat light. We can't become everything to everyone, and government's always the answer, which in many ways, I mean, Donald Trump has said he's not going to touch Social Security, he's not going to touch Medicare, which is, well, if you want to make a dent in the national deficit and debt, probably have to do that. Do you see any tension there, any kind of anxiety for you and Peter Kinder and party leaders going forward?
Well, I see President Trump empowering Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy with Doge, which is extremely fiscally conservative. They're going to really take a hatchet to government, to the size of government, which will save money and be very fiscally prudent. It'll stop bureaucrats from enacting more and more regulations, which are really ghost taxes, as Gene Ziegfeld has coined the term, and just having less bureaucrats there to write those regulations, that's going to help with the opportunity costs that we have for businesses even being formed or engaging in commerce. And so I think following that example, sticking with our balanced budget and I think it's good that Mike Kehoe, our governor-elect, has said that he wants to, end the income tax, the state income tax, and enact school choice. And I think these things are fiscally conservative and prudent and do reflect, the values of Ronald Reagan and Barry Goldwater.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that's good. So we've got the inauguration coming up. Now, Stephanie and Hannah have already been talking about the beautiful, attire that they've already selected. Are you similarly ready?
I just picked out my dress.
You haven't? Oh, you have?
Jennifer and I have a history of dressing like Christmas. One of us is typically always in green and the other one's in red. We got to coordinate. I'm not wearing green or red, Jen. So we're going to coordinate and we'll make sure we get a pick that night.
Well, we'll be watching. We'll be looking at all the social media posts to check this out and see how that coordination does or doesn't go. Jennifer,
well, you should come with us, Randy. It's open to the public.
Yeah, but I don't have that black tux thing going on. I don't know.
Come on now. That's Tobler. I'm sure you can round something up.
All right. Hey, thanks for being with us, and congratulations on adding yet another element to your already very busy schedule, Jennifer. And we're glad you're there, and proud that a member of the
It's a grade 8 time a week from tomorrow as we get ready to go with the whole 9 yards. I know KWS will be airing preliminary games, Capital City, Jefferson City, Elias High School on that Friday, and then segue into Saturday for the semifinals and the big deal games, championship games on Sunday as well. So we've got teams coming in from Florida, and we've got teams coming in from...
It is, John. We think it's over 30 years. We're not sure of the exact date, but somewhere around 1990 or 1991.
Now, I remember going as a little girl when I was a student at Jefferson City, and we always went, me and my dad, to go watch the tournament. So it's so nice that we can now take our kids and go.
Yeah, it is, guys, because, well, heck, like Stephanie just said, she remembers being a kid and her dad taking her to the tournament. It's a perfect opportunity for this time of year, isn't it?
Yeah, John, and that gets into a little bit of the history of the tournament. For those listeners that may be a lot younger than some of us or are new to the Jefferson City area, this idea kind of originated out of the Convention and Visitors Bureau back in the early 90s. The week between Christmas and New Year's is the slowest time of the year for the hoteliers. And we were looking for an event that, one, would bring business to Jefferson City during that week. And the second thing, there's a lot of kids home from school and family gatherings, and we wanted events, that those kids could get out and interact with their former classmates. There was a pretty hardcore group of basketball fans back then that just loved high school basketball, whether it was their team playing or not. So it just kind of evolved, and initially it was just a boys tournament, and in order to bring teams in to stay in the hotels, the original format was 4 in-state teams and 4 out-of-state teams, and we would match those 4 in-state teams against the out-of-state teams. Again, it was bringing different styles of basketball into Jefferson City, and it's just gradually involved, and now it's 2 8-team tournaments, a boys tournament, a girls tournament. We do everything we can to try to at least involve a couple local schools in the surrounding Jeff City area. We still try to bring in out-of-state teams, especially teams that maybe have a reputation as a strong basketball program, or I think the fans really like to see is Division I type player. And I forgot the number, but we've had numerous on the boys' side players that have gone on to play in the NBA. I mean, we're looking for that kind of talent.
So we know that folks are struggling to find affordable ways to provide entertainment and good, wholesome, opportunities for their kids and their family. This sounds like a great way to have family entertainment. Probably, what's the admission charge for this, for the tourney?
Admission charge, guys? I guess we're having some problems.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What's the admission charge on the whole event?
It's very, very reasonable. It's $5 a day. It's $5 a day, and participants or spectators can go back and forth. Jefferson City High School hosts the boys tournament. Capital City High School, the girls tournament games are played there, and one $5 admission fee, and you go back and forth between the two venues all day long. So in 2 3-day tournaments, for $15 you're going to get 3 days of basketball.
Oh, that's something.
I looked it up before I came in, and it's half the price of an average movie ticket.
Oh, absolutely.
So, average ticket price to go to a movie is $10. We're only charging $5 a day, boys and girls, for about 8 hours.
And it's not like going to Disney where you have to buy a ticket for Epcot and a ticket for the Animal Kingdom and a ticket for Disney World. I mean, you can go to both places. That's a great bargain.
And you don't have to stand in line.
That's right.
Steve, talk to us about some of the places some of the out-of-state teams are coming in from.
I'd be glad to do that. On the boys' side, we've got 3 out-of-state teams. Well, let's back up just a little bit. The 3 Jefferson City high schools, Elias High School, Capital City, and Jefferson City High School, are in it. The local small school team, which we try to do that. It's a little bit like Hoosiers, maybe. Eugene Eagles, just located south of Jeff City, are in the boys tournament. Again, our format has always been 4 out-of-state teams. Through some contract issues this year, we ended up with 3 out-of-state teams. Lausanne Collegiate School out of Memphis, Tennessee. They've been here before, and they have a kid, a 6'2" freshman that is supposedly one of the top freshmen in the entire state of Tennessee. We have Tulsa Union out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's probably one of the largest schools in the state of Oklahoma. I think their student enrollment is somewhere around 3,300 kids. We have, for the first time ever, a team from Florida. They happen to be on their way to a tournament in Arizona, and they're going to detour through Jefferson City to play in our tournament.
Great. Great basketball coming up, and unfortunately we're out of time. I wish we could hear more, but we're out of time. Folks, buy tickets at the door ahead of time. What's the word?
That's it. 27, 28.
All right,
29 in December.
Yeah. And listen right here on KWOS.
Beautiful. Hey, thanks, guys, and best wishes for a great tournament. Hey, that'll wrap it up for today. Don't miss tomorrow. It's Hannah's last day, and I know she's got some surprises with some retrospectives that we'll listen to and have a lot of fun then. Hope you'll join us then. Have a great day.
Bye.